This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Yeah, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason. What do you have on tap for us tonight?
Well, tonight we're only talking about like a series that has one volume to its name so far, but it's kind of a big deal right now because it's a series that marks the start of a new shared universe imprint over at Image. Of course, I'm talking about Void Rivals, the start of the Energon Universe. It's like over at Robert Kirkman's Skybound imprint. So basically, in case you haven't heard, and we're going full spoilers for this volume, because there's a lot of stuff that bears talking about with what it represents, because this is basically the new shared universe for both Transformers and GI Joe, and whatever other else Kirkman wants to write in it. Because, well, Void Rivals was originally solicited as the first. When it was originally solicited, it was just like the new series from Robert Kirkman and artist Lorenzo De Felici. You may remember Kirkman needs no introduction, obviously, but De Felici was Kirkman's artistic partner on the Oblivion song, and that was a fine series. It was okay. I can't say that it was, like Kirkman's best follow up to the enduring success of Invincible and The Walking Dead, but it wasn't bad. But when it came out, it basically told us all we knew is that it was about these two like members of these opposing warring civilizations, and these two people from like opposite sides crash land on this planet, and they're going to be forced to work together if they're going to survive in order to get off of it. I mean, it's a setup that's been done before, like even like this, even with this science fiction veneer to it. But also in the solicitation it was hinted at, there's going to be this, like there's going to be the start of this like shared universe, and it's like, okay, fine, man. It's like everyone's doing the whole shared universe, the multiverse, the metaverse thing. So what do you got for us, Robert? And well, the big deal turns out in the first issue. Well, turns out Transformers are a big part of this setup. Well, yeah, it's overstating things for this first volume, but basically it let us know that that Void Rivals was the first part of this like Energon Universe, the shared universe, like for this series, Transformers and GI Joe, and Kirkman was going to be overseeing it through Skybound while also writing Void Rivals himself. Now, my experience with Transformers is I grew up watching the TV series, so I enjoyed it as a kid, had some Transformers myself, and kind of fell out as most people do. And but I've kept an ear towards it like all these years, following it, hearing like, oh, there's another like new animated version. Oh, there's a new comic book series. I've heard lots of good things about the IDW run of it. At least like the first, at least before they rebooted it after the Unicron. But I heard lots of good things about that particular take on this series. But it's also been like so voluminous that it's also something that I'm really like gung ho about doing, both for reasons of how much it would cost and the fact that I've already got a day job, and so there you go. But someone who actually has more investment in this franchise, at least if maybe not the like actual like cartoon series and all, but John, I mean you're a big Transformers aficionado, aren't you?
Yes, I like Transformers.
Yeah, in fact, you got your own channel like that where you talk about them too, right?
I review figures. Yeah, so, and I'm very familiar with the Generation 1 anime/cartoon. So yeah, I'm very familiar with that. I'm also somewhat familiar with the original Marvel run, to a degree, and then I'm barely familiar with the IDW run. So I mean, there's some elements I understand, others most of it I don't know. So, but yeah, for sure.
Okay, but you were interested enough in this to like want to check out like the like the start of the Energon Universe with Void Rivals, right?
Yep. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of an interesting point, right? Because I think starting from the top is probably easier. it's always been kind of a challenge to me to try to figure out how I was going to dive into all of the IDW material. And like since forever. In other words, what am I trying to say? I'm not that much of a Transformers fan if I didn't really, check that out. But I don't think it's a bad thing either. I've heard a lot of good things, and like you, it's like, oh, okay. Well, do I start? I I'm not entirely sure where I want to start, and there are some guides that tell you can go from here and here and here. I get it. But at least with this switch over to um this, I can start from the kind of the beginning, and that's kind of the appealing thing, at least I hope.
Yeah, and it's like at this point, it's just one volume right now. I mean, next volume, like Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers, comes out in May. But right now, all it is just Void Rivals, and hey, it's easy to get on the ground floor with just this introductory volume.
And I think I want to say that there's going to be some more. So um but I don't know. Well, I know. Oh, I'll just say it. It's like either GI Joe or Action Force will be in there. So spoilers. Not that that is a spoiler, but because a lot of the times when you talk about Transformers, it's even in the original G1 animation, you're still talking about crossovers with Transformers. So
It
they
was something they were doing like ever since like the Marvel comics days.
yeah. And that was something else. Yeah, and that's an irony in it by itself. The original Marvel ones had Spider-Man crossover, but it was more for a promo thing in the original, let's say 80s run. So
Mm-hmm.
and then to complicate things more, the Marvel run had the UK version and then the US version. So and they did introduce different characters, which eventually came in. So um, that's a lot to think. But like for right now, we should just say, oh hey, if you're starting this, just go for it. Just pick up this volume and start reading it, right? So well,
Yeah, it's like
depends on your review of this. So
yeah, it's like I'm not. We'll say that like Void Rivals and Transformers are already into their second arcs. The GI Joe side of thing is apparently just being a series of ongoing miniseries with Duke and Cobra Commander being written by one Joshua Williamson, and now they've already announced Destro and Scarlet miniseries as well, and they are going to crossover because apparently Cobra Commander is keeping Megatron in his basement, but well, I'm not sure if I need to follow that because, well, it's like Williamson, prolific as he is, especially over at DC, he's never really done enough for me as a writer. But I will be picking up the Scarlet miniseries because I really like Kelly Thompson's work. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. As for like Void Rivals, well, as I mentioned earlier, it's basically the story of two warriors, Derek, member of the Agorians, and Solilia, a member of the Zertonians. These people have been at each other's throats for, we're told, hundreds of years, and like they're just it's like leaving like, and as we find them as they're trying, they've crash landed on this like mostly barren planet. Like they're just like at each other's throats because they are just believing in every like bad thing that's been said about them, like up to this point. Well, and then they also have to, but realize that okay, it's like we're either just going to die right here, like fighting each other with our hands at each other's throats, or we can try and like rebuild our ships and try to get off this rock. And so that's like the first bit of grudging respect that that they learn towards each other. And all the first issue has some like has basically kind of like is mostly about that, them just learning to like work together, and also hint at the larger story being told here, which is in really it's like the big surprise here is the fact that holy crap, halfway through the issue they find Jetfire. It's like he's apparently been stuck on this planet for millions of years in a hibernated state, and It's like, and when they wake him up, like he realizes, oh my god, it's like, what am I doing here? It's like, I gotta get back to Cybertron, and he's gone. That's the first hint. I mean, by itself, it's like, I mean, it's a shock. I mean, I imagine people who read the first issue had their minds blown by what the hell's like Transformer doing here? It's like that's kind of crazy. But in terms of the actual storytelling content, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, how does this change things? So I mean, you really could have just taken out those few pages that Jetfire's in, and it wouldn't have changed the basic structure of this first issue. It's like it really, honestly, does feel kind of gimmicky, like the way it's put there.
Yeah,
And
I'm gonna say the same thing. I said, okay, well, here's your thing, and they just dropped it in there. I'm like, okay, it there's no payoff on this right now at all.
yeah, it's like it. I mean, this is one of those things where it's like I'm sure that reading this month to month and seeing what new Transformers related thing is going to show up in each issue. Yeah, I think like that's definitely something that you have that a lot of people probably enjoyed. Got a lot more enjoyment out of that as opposed to like a trade waiter like me who just like hears about this like secondhand. Or well, I didn't hear about all the Transformers appearances here, but the Jetfire one is just kind of like I had to read the news articles about this because like I just did not believe that like Kirkman was doing this. But then
Yeah.
again, that's the surprise. The surprise of this is like months old now. So there you go.
So
It doesn't hit as hard reading it in the trade paperback.
yeah, and I'll say the only thing that you can possibly pull out of that is number one, he's not wearing any insignia logo. So those people who know Jetfire or Skyfire, I think it's Skyfire in this one, because I don't think they even name him, but well, maybe he names himself, I forget.
I think
But
I think he names himself.
yeah, so yeah, so first of all, he's not of any faction, which
Oh yeah,
when
he says I'm Jetfire, a Cybertronian scientist.
right, that's in the G1 animation. That's how he is actually frozen in the Arctic, and he had been there for millions of years as well. Arctic of Earth, of course. So there, and at first the Decepticons find him, and he's recruited by Megatron. Then he's like, and do I have to kill like little Earth creatures and things like that? That's wrong. And so then but he's an old buddy of Starscream's. They may play
Ah,
on that some. So there's a thing, like they were friends, old Cybertron, for what
hmm,
it's worth. And I don't know how they'll play into that or if they will at all. So, but yeah, so the implication here is, yeah, he's just been in stasis lock, is what they call it. Um, and yeah, and then he's off on his way. I'm sure we'll see him again, but there's really no payoff for it in this volume.
true. Yeah, it's like he'll be back, but just like I said, there's no payoff here. But one thing that is meant to have a payoff here, like, and imagine like this is kind of like probably like what Kirkman was hoping would have like the real impact is when it's toward the end of the episode where end of the issue where Derek and Solia take off their helmets, like to see what each other look like. They look like under the helmets, and well, this is kind of like an anti-surprise because if you think about it, well, what's the only real surprise that they could have, like if they took off their helmets to show each other what they look like? It's if they both looked like each other. That's right. The Agorians, the Zertonians, they're apparently the same people, just like living on other sides of what's called the Sacred Ring, which, as we find out in the second issue, is like this big old ring, like apparently like centered around like some kind of black hole or other interstellar phenomena, like different color, like split, like it's got two halves, and one half, each half is different colors, but they're basically the same people who've been fighting each other like for years, all because what they've been told from the leaders that like the people, the other guy, like there's Argorians hate you, the Zertonians are going to eat you, that kind of stuff. And now it's like now like Derek and Solia realize that someone's been lying to them all this time, and so they want to get home, but they also got to figure out what we're going to do when we get there. But the road home doesn't go smoothly because like they get captured by this guy Skuxoid, who captures their slow moving craft in his asteroid miner um, mining ship. And well, it's this is fine because hey, it's like it's can't have them getting home like too easily. But I guess like the interesting thing here is that like apparently like Skuxoid, he's just your average like interstellar pirate in it for himself, trying to make the greatest profit possible. And to that end, he's apparently captured some sort of emissary of the Quintessons on his ship as well. And he's also got like a one of their scorpion robots. Can't remember what they're called. Oh well, but apparently like it's like he's just interested in their ship, and so he and after Derek and Solia like free the Quintesson, who promises like, yeah, I'll help get you out of here. But then Skuxoid said, hey, if you leave him with me, leave your ship, I'll give you this other ship that you can use to get back to your to your sacred ring. It's like in a decent amount of time. They take him up on it, and now they're off back home. And Skuxoid still has his Quintesson partner, and that kind of leads into the other Transformers related drops, like in the rest of the volume, because well, we get to see him meeting. First, we get to see Skuxoid meeting up with Shockwave, to try and sell him off here. And Shockwave is just kind of like, no, man, it's like, what are you doing here? I don't want this. It's like, just get the hell out of here. You're worthless to me. So, I mean, how did that scene read to you, John?
Well, I'm gonna go back to the Skuxoid. First of all, they are just to say that they actually did show up in the Generation One animation.
Oh, the Skuxoid's an actual like Transformers thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah. I mean, then there's no offense in not knowing that because it's there's a couple of episodes where they are. Well, you see them more in the season 3, but they do show up in in the season 2. At least once, and so Skuxoid is I don't know why in this volume he calls it's you think he's his name because it's kind of like they kind of think of themselves as that, but I kind of digress a bit here. So basically mercenary ish, and also a bit for lack of a better comparison, they tend to be a little bit more profit minded.
Mm-hmm.
So think Ferengis in Star Trek, maybe. Um, so they're just looking to sell, and just kind of do that kind of stuff. So, but moving on to that the shockwave thing here. I mean, okay, I suppose. I like Shockwave, one of my favorites actually. But in this one, I don't. I think it's interesting, but he's trying to sell them something.
Sell them the Quintesson.
Yeah, sell them the Quintesson, right? So, I mean, why we don't know, and for what purpose, So, I think, yeah, he's really he's really pushing it or what, but I guess he is, but because and it's not like something that I suppose this would just be writing more stuff into it. um I suppose Decepticons be like that, sure, but I certainly don't see Shockwave being that way, because he's always been the cold, calculating, logical, like, Decepticon type of commander. So yeah. So no surprises here. That's fairly consistent. What how he reacts to him is pretty consistent with the way. You would expect Shockwave to. He's like, yeah, why? Why are you here? But again, kind of while I like seeing him there, I'm kind of, why are we doing this again? So it's like, okay, you're just dropping it here. Did you know that this is related to Transformers? So anyway, that's how I saw this.
I guess like it's not, if it has any point to it, it's that either Kirkman or Dave Felici or both are just big fans of Shockwave, and they really wanted to like put him in, like for the series the first chance they could. So
Yeah, pretty
which
much.
I guess hey, if you've got the license to your like favorite series of your childhood, I mean, I guess there's no point if you can't indulge yourself in this fashion.
It's not wrong. It's also just like, oh, did you know that the Skuxoid dropped by the 7-Eleven to get a soda? Like, it doesn't do anything
Really?
for the story
Yeah.
right now. Yeah, he didn't, and it doesn't matter. So, well, I mean, later on maybe, but I don't think it changes much. So
No.
anyway,
Again, it's something you probably could have just taken out. You could have taken out these 2 pages, and it would not have changed anything really.
correct.
Yeah, but getting back to our sensible protagonists, well, Solila has and Derek are get closing in on like the ring. They're trying to figure out how do we get back to the how are we gonna like actually return, because it's like we're like from opposite sides, and Derek has a sensible idea of, hey, we'll just like send out escape pods and just leave the ship as like derelict. And Solila goes, "Nah, I got another idea," and she zaps him and takes him back to the Zertonian side, which it's like, and we get to see what their civilization is like, and they're all like aghast at like this Argorian who's been brought back. Of course, his helmet's still on because they're obviously too hideous to look at otherwise. And he's thrown in jail, and it's like, and Solia is brought forth between it's like their leader, and whoops, like when she's apparently a bit too like happy about how she's told that he's going to be like held captive, and then ransomed back to Agoria for some kind of concessions and supplies. So basically, like, leader figures out, oh, like he says, did you see under his mask? And she's like, no. He doesn't buy it, and he throws her in prison with Derek, and find out that well, sure, Derek is going to be returned after being ransomed. They're going to like torture him for information, first, because why not? And it's also during this time that we find out that apparently Solila is apparently a member of a former religious organization / cult, like in this play, like in Zertonia. We're not told exactly what they represent or their proper name. I look at them and think, okay, this is all very vaguely Bene Gesserit-ish, but like that we're probably told that like everything that's been happening to her is part of their grand plan, and it's like she's just gonna have to like she like their leader gives her like some kind of like car that's probably gonna be important later, but while this is going on, Derek's being tortured, but then of course he's rescued by the local resistance, because, well, wouldn't surprise you to learn that not everyone agrees with how things are being run on both sides of the ring, and so now they're going to have to. So now Derek is like, they want to help Derek get back to his side, and help spread, and also spread the word to the resistance on their side, because they've lost contact with them. But Derek also asks them to rescue Solida as well, and they do this, even though like they're kind of like, oh god, like she's not her. It's like she doesn't believe in our just cause, and the rest of the volume can basically be summed up as like they escape to the top, things go badly, and then our heroes run off to the wasteland between the rings, because on the one hand that's a bad thing, because no one's ever crossed these before, but and so they're obviously like gonna die in the crossing, but hey, we just got to make sure. So there's some other stuff here that's going to probably be relevant later, because apparently like the reason that these that both the higher ups on both sides of the ring have been keeping the fire's antagonism stoked between sides is that apparently if they're ever to come together in glorious harmony, something called Goliant would show up and just ruin their day. And in order to take them out, like before while they're crossing the wasteland, the Zertonian leader basically says we're going to revive Proximus. And well, I was honestly a little disappointed to learn that there is no Transformers connection. At least that's what you said, John. Right? These are terms you're not familiar with.
No, they are not.
Okay, yeah, but overall, it's like, I mean, well, actually, like before we get into the overall thing, I will say there is one other significant Transformers significant scene here. That's arguably like the well, actually, no, two scenes, basically involving Skuxoid and the Quintessons, and it's arguably like the one Transformers related bit here that couldn't be cut for reasons, and that's when Skuxoid tries to sell the Quintesson back to the main Quintessons, and then he finds out that apparently like the ship that he's got, the one that Derek and Solia built to get off their planet, well, it turns out like when he says like, no, I got this ship that's both made both from Argonian and Zertonian material, and then the Quintessons go, wait, Zertonian? What are you talking about, man? And apparently something happened like eons ago that apparently like some other Quintesson or someone the Quintessons knew was trying to make this civilization apparently that became the Great Ring. And now the Quintessons are like, surprised to learn that, wow, this person actually pulled it off. And apparently that's really significant for reasons we're going to find out in the future. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
And remember, the Quintessons are the ones who supposedly created the Transformers, at least in the G1 continuity. Um, so yeah, that's that. And that was kind of a that didn't come out until season 3 of the animation. But the fact that they would be interested at this level on something like that, it doesn't surprise me.
okay, so you think we're dealing with this could be like some kind of like galactic spanning like creators guild or something. Like we've got the Quintessons who created the Transformers. We've got this other person who created the Zertonians, and well, I don't know, maybe like we'll find out there's some other like guiding presence created the humans or something like that. I don't know. It's like
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely, there's the whole precursor theory, which is used plenty in different science fiction stories. So yeah, they may be going with something like that, or at least for this civilization. The humans, not sure, but it'd be interesting to see how they want to tie that in. So maybe it's just evolution. So
yeah, and yeah, but overall, I mean that's basically like everything that happens in the first volume, and overall, it's like I'm not sure how much time we'd be giving this if it wasn't for the fact that it's being positioned as the start of this new universe, and has the big old Transformers tie-ins at all. Because this, I mean, while I don't think anything here was essentially bad, it really felt kind of like familiar and almost formulaic in parts that that kind of that I kind of like don't like seeing from Kirkman. I mean, what really like got me in the tank for him, like for anything he's done, is how he wound up just finding ways to take familiar conventions and twist them in new and interesting ways in Invincible and the Walking Dead. And this is something that really he hasn't been doing a whole heck of a lot in all of his follow up series. I mean, like like with Outcast, with Oblivion Song, with Firepower, it kind of really feels like he's just like hoping the it's like like the familiar idea of just like doing these particular like genres is enough, but not actually trying to find like a way to do something like different here. And that's kind of how I feel about this first one of Void Rivals. I mean, Transformers connections aside, it's really just your standard, like two people on opposite sides of a conflict, have to work together, find common ground, find out there's a conspiracy at the highest levels of government, like keeping the war between their sides going. It's all really kind of familiar, and like I said, it's the Transformers stuff that gives it its selling point. But as we were talking, like it doesn't really do anything. a lot of stuff that does feel kind of like surplus to like the main plot, except for the bits with the Quintessons later on. So I mean, like John, so I mean, how did you feel about this?
Yeah, I was it's surprisingly lackluster, to be honest with you, in terms of like um uh setup in a lot of ways. I mean, there's more given to, our two alien friends here, but nothing, surprising. Um, so that's kind of, it's introductory. Is that a nice word to use?
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's all it's all
maybe,
like it's all about laying the groundwork, but
yeah, very, very much so. I didn't feel any it's like, oh, okay, so two aliens have to work together, and oh, hey, kids, here's this. So I'm still very interested in how they're going to develop this, but and then there's the unknown, how they're going to integrate this with the other pieces of what they call, by the way, the I think it's called the Energon Universe.
yeah.
So that I'm interested in that. I'm interested in all the tie-ins with the rest, and to see if it's actually going to, you know, I know that the IDW storylines well loved, and the characters, there were things that were spawned out of that were, like I said, well loved. People liked them, um, and I think just this is a very introductory kind of uh um volume, to be honest with you, but nothing I was like, oh, okay, well, hey, Shockwave, cool, hey, Jetfire, cool, oh, hey, Quintessons, bad guys, something like that. So and that, like I said, I actually, outside of the little transformer, like, whatever you want to call them, like cameos, I found, the characters kind of interesting, but nothing nothing to really go, oh, wow, that's different. So yeah,
hmm
I get,
I
again,
liked. One thing I haven't talked about though is Derek's hand droid. I mean
yeah,
that.
that thing is cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like that. Actually, pro- giving a bit of a protest about working
yeah,
with what's her name,
with Solia.
yeah, Solia. It's like, oh, okay, but not that you have much choice. So,
Yes,
uh,
what you were talking about is equivalent to treason.
mhm.
Yeah, it's like,
It's like,
and also just like his bit where he's just able to move his animate his hand. I mean his arm, like Derek's arm when he's unconscious. I mean
hmm
that was a nice little bit, especially that opening scene where he's just has to drag Derek out of the out of his out of his cockpit, and then get the and I can get it inject the like reviver and it's like into him. That was a nice little scene right there. And also like one of the things that I guess I haven't mentioned yet is the art from this volume, which is done by Oblivion Songs Lorenzo De Felici. I I liked his work here more. It's like more than I did in that series, where it had like a colorful, flowing, almost Seussical like look to its like like humanoid and alien landscapes. That was nice, but I wouldn't say it's exceptional. But here he's got something like more sketchy. It's like but a bit more defined, less flowy, grittier for sure. But I don't know. It's like it felt more interesting and appealing here. It's like I mean, like he's really good with like with the action. It's like and the characters and their expressions. I mean, drawing like characters like who you only see who are in like helmets for most of the entire series. Like most of this volume is like it's hard because like you don't because helmets don't emote well. But he manages to like actually do a good job with that stuff because well, he's also drawing their eyes as well. At least they're glowing eye bits. It's like, but overall, I mean, it looks good. It's like, and I think that I'm looking that he's a good choice for he's a good fit for the material. That's what I'm saying here.
yeah, I don't disagree with any of that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, and overall, it's like I don't know. It's like I mean, even though like I can't say I was really impressed by this volume, it doesn't really do anything to dissuade me from checking out volume two, because yeah, as we were saying, this is all setup really. It's like, I mean, like maybe it's like, that he's established where things are going. Like, will we actually be able to get some twists like here, and maybe like as we bring in more of like the Transformers stuff and eventually GI Joe, because man, it's like, what's the point of having like your own series, Transformers and GI Joe comics all in one universe if you don't bring them all together for one big crossover at some point?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, kind of looking forward to it, but I'm also optimistically hoping that I don't think I'm optimistically hoping this is going to turn out really well. I think it will. Um I don't think it's going to be a bad effort, but yeah, right now it just feels a little like slow.
It's
So,
like,
or
it feels like,
or at least in terms of like differentiating itself as something that wants to keep me in this. Right now, the only thing, and I'll be honest with you, the only thing that's kind of keep me in this is the fact that I know that there are things coming, so
yeah.
that's I don't know if that's a compliment at this point.
Well, it's kind of like specific to us, It's
Yeah,
we know that like things are in the offing, but like someone might just look at this and go like, oh well, this is all kind of familiar. It's like, and I'm really want to be judged based on what's in here, and what's in here is just fine, really.
exactly. That I tend to agree with that. Um, so you know what you're going to be talking about next time?
Next time, well, let's see. The Star Wars stuff for Dark Droids is slowly trickling in for on Marvel Unlimited, and also like in print as well. So it's possible I may be talking about that, or I may just be talking about that later. And next time it'll just be a surprise to both you and myself right now.
And we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
Right, later.